Welcome back, and thanks so much for being here with us. An estimated 8 million Americans have some sort of eating disorder. While the overwhelming majority of those people are women, men aren't immune. This morning, we're talking with Margaret Johnson, who's an expert on eating disorders. She joins me here on the set to talk all about this issue. So good to see you. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Put this issue into perspective for us. I mean, we're saying here that millions of Americans deal with this, but the reality is most people know someone who is dealing with an eating disorder but may not know it's actually happening.
Absolutely. I think that eating disorders affect a wide range of people, and there are a wide range of eating disorders. For the majority of us, it's easy to diagnose someone often who has anorexia because the symptoms are fairly obvious. For someone who might be slightly overweight, you might not diagnose them with an eating disorder, but they may very well have compulsive overeating habits. For a bulimic, diagnosing a bulimic, unless you ask certain questions about binging and purging, you may not see a bulimic on the street and think that she looks any different or he looks any different than anyone else.
You know, you brought up an interesting point. There are people who overeat, and that probably isn't considered a eating disorder. Until you said it, it never even crossed my mind.
Right. I think that in our culture, food has become something that is used for a wide variety of reasons, not just for fuel and nourishment, but as a coping mechanism, as something that satisfies a hunger that we have on the inside that can't be met, you know, by anything on the outside, we believe.
Why are women overwhelmingly more affected by this disease and by this sickness?
Well, I would say that the majority is because women on the inside intuitively have a desire to be, you know, to be desired and to be beautiful, but in our culture we've defined beauty so narrowly and so shallow. Beauty is such an external expression, and that goes back to the beginning of time. The Old Testament has a verse that says, you know, man looks at the outward appearance, God looks at the heart. And we're a culture that sees things from the outside in instead of the inside out. And the extreme to look like the models in society, it's very hard to meet.
So are eating disorders then emotional disorders? Are they mental disorders? How are they classified?
I would say that they are classified as both. There are a lot of women, I mentioned bulimia, that they definitely have body image issues, but the reason that they have body image issues may stem from trauma and abuse. Sexually abused women often struggle with eating disorders and either overeat because they don't want to be desirable anymore, undereat because they aren't desirable anymore, or even binge and purge because it's almost a ritual of getting the gross things out, you know, throwing up all of the bad feelings that they've had from the trauma and abuse in their lives. So trauma and abuse has a wide range of, you know, emotional and mental disorders that accompany it. So that's why it's complicated of saying you can't just define an eating disorder as just simply a body image issue. It's also a spiritual issue, an emotional issue.
Very quickly, what are some of the signs people need to look for in someone that is dealing with an eating disorder?
Some of the signs that you should look for are dieting, obsessive dieting, calorie counting, any obsession with food and over-exercising, and any extreme negative self-esteem issues that start really young in our lives. We really need to focus on that in our children.
We appreciate you coming in and talking about this.
Thank you so much.
Unfortunately, we're out of time because we could talk all day on
Sure, we
this
could.
issue.
Thanks for having us.
No problem. We also have a link to Heartlight's website on our website, folks. Just go to myeyewitnessnews.com, click on the midday link on the left-hand side of our homepage, and you'll find the information there.